MC dulu, MC.
Cek, cek, cek.
Halo, Mbak. Ya, halo, Mbak.
Along with the development of technology and information, Universitas Terbuka provides the best services for its students. UT presents one of the superior applications called MyUT. MyUT application is here to make it easier for students to get various information related to learning processes. MyUT application has implemented single sign-on technology, or SSO. This application is an authentication service system to assist students in signing into a site or application. With this new system, students only need to sign in with an Office 365 account to enter various applications at once. Students can see personal dashboards through MyUT, including student data and academic development. In this scenario, students will have access to their payment status and a record of their courses. Additionally, they will also be able to access the following features: announcement and academic calendar, relevant information that can easily be accessed from WhatsApp and students' email, easy payment because it has implemented cash and card payment processor, or 2C2P technology. Another facility MyUT offers is that students can directly enter online tutorial pages, webinar tutorials, and practicum practices without signing into their respective applications. Likewise, with other services such as registration, teaching materials, examinations, student activities, and graduation, students only need to select the desired services and will automatically enter the desired application. It is also equipped with a chatbot feature to make it easier for students to support their learning process. MyUT also offers other benefits to UT students, including assistance to students in finding exam locations through the Examination Participant Card feature, which seamlessly integrates with exam location maps specific to each UT regional office. The website-based and mobile-based MyUT make it easier for students to get services anywhere and anytime.
Saya meyakini bahwa ASEAN masih penting dan relevan bagi rakyat, bagi kawasan, dan bagi dunia. Bahwa ASEAN akan terus berkontribusi bagi perdamaian dan stabilitas di Indo-Pasifik. Bahwa ASEAN akan terus dapat menjaga pertumbuhan ekonomi dan ASEAN Matters epicentrum of growth. Secara resmi saya nyatakan kick off keketuaan ASEAN Indonesia 2023 dimulai. To meet the adequacy, accessibility, and quality of information systems, UT possesses sufficient network facilities, infrastructures, and optimal information technology services. UT has a data center that adheres to Tier 3 standards. The data center was constructed alongside the Disaster Recovery Center, DRC, situated in separate locations within the same region or island and off-site outside Java Island. Currently, UT has established 2 physically distinct DRC locations from the main data center. 1. Gedung Serbaguna, UT's first DRC location, is in a different building in the same area. This location contains a storage server and several servers for backup and emergency replacement service. 2. DRC Nusantara Data Center, NDC Batam, in collaboration with one of Moratalindo's internet services in Indonesia. UT uses Microsoft Azure and DigitalOcean in the realm of cloud data centers. Regarding servers, each unit at UT's head office and regional offices has approximately 200 virtual servers for data backup and unit application development. This hosting server is managed by the Directorate of Information Systems with more than 50 physical servers installed. UT's internet connection consists of international and domestic internet lines with sufficient bandwidth with a total capacity of 5 Gbps internationally and 10 Gbps nationally, using 5 Internet Service Providers or ISPs. For internal networks or local area networks or LANs that connect between buildings in UT head office, the fiber cable bandwidth used varies with the backbone of the LAN interbuilding network of 10 Gbps and 1 Gbps for each network subnet. The regional offices of UT possess ample bandwidth capacity, offering speeds ranging from 100 to 200 Mbps. UT regional offices typically subscribe to a single internet service provider, ISP, in the area, such as IndiHome or ASTINet, with different capacities available. Additionally, all office computers are connected to the internal network or local area network. The Virtual Private Network or VPN connection established between the head office and all regional offices of UT offers speeds of up to 10 Mbps with a robust backbone capacity of up to 400 Mbps. The infrastructure is generally utilized for various purposes, including accessing application systems, databases, and communication tools like video conferencing and PABX, and providing internet connectivity. UT provides lecturers and students with various facilities to engage in online learning activities and access informational resources and enrichment materials. These facilities include 1. eCampus email service, which offers a generous 50 gigabyte inbox capacity and 1 terabyte of integrated OneDrive storage through Office 365. In addition to facilitating communication between students and lecturers. 2. Complimentary access to Wi-Fi.ID hotspots, which is the result of cooperation between UT and Telkom. These hotspots are available at equipped locations and have been installed across all regional offices of UT.
Saya meyakini bahwa ASEAN masih penting dan relevan bagi rakyat, bagi kawasan, dan bagi dunia. bahwa ASEAN akan terus berkontribusi bagi perdamaian dan stabilitas di Indo-Pasifik, bahwa ASEAN akan terus dapat menjaga pertumbuhan ekonomi dan ASEAN Matters epicentrum of growth. Secara resmi saya nyatakan kick off keketuaan ASEAN Indonesia 2023 dimulai.
Ladies and gentlemen, the participants from the ASEAN countries, welcome to the 7th Communique Webinar Series, the ASEAN Higher Education Conference 2023, organized by the Ministry of Education, Culture, Research and Technology, Republic of Indonesia, in collaboration with the Council of Rector of the Indonesia State University and Universitas Padjadjaran. I'm Agatha Tantri Atmaja, and it is my distinct pleasure to be your Master of Ceremonies for today's webinar. Today, we are going to open the 7th Communique Webinar Series that is hosted by Universitas Terbuka. Universitas Terbuka is a state university in Indonesia, widely recognized for its exceptional open and distance education system. With an impressive student body of over 480,000 individuals, we take pride in fostering a diverse community of learners from various backgrounds across 50 different countries, primarily in Asia. Indonesia has the honor of serving as the chair of ASEAN for the 5th time, and in 2023, the chairmanship of Indonesia in ASEAN adopts the theme of ASEAN Matters, Epicentrum of Growth. Indonesia will convene 10 Communique Webinar Series of the ASEAN Higher Education Conference 2023 with the general theme, Higher Education, a Catalyst for Growth. The topic of today's webinar is climate change mitigation. Now, I'm pleased to invite Ms. Krisi Francisca Oliviana Rugian, Master of Science, to moderate today's webinar.
Thank you, Agatha, for the warm introduction. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the main session of 7th ASEAN Higher Education Conference 2023. My name is Krisi. I am honored to be your moderator for this insightful webinar. Today we gather virtually from various corners of the ASEAN region and beyond to discuss one of the most critical topics of our time, climate change mitigation. We have gathered a lineup of distinguished speakers who will be sharing their expertise on various topics related to climate change mitigation. Profesor Dr. Agung Damar Syakti, DEA, Director of Universitas Maritim Raja Ali Haji Umrah Indonesia. Yang berhormat Dato Seri Setia Awang Haji Muhammad Juanda bin Haji Abdul Rashid, Minister of Development of Brunei Darussalam. Profesor Pongruk Sri Bandit Mongkol, MD, PhD, Chairperson, Council of University Presidents of Thailand. Dr. Mim Kin, Rector, University of Computer Studies, Yangon, Myanmar. And Dr. Bandung Sahari, Executive Vice President of Sustainability, PT Astra Agrolestari Tbk Indonesia. There will be 5 sessions scheduled for today that you won't want to miss. Each session will last approximately 15 minutes and will be followed by a short Q&A session. We encourage participants to ask relevant questions related to the topic through the Q&A feature. Please state your name and the name of the speaker to whom you intend to address your question. Ladies and gentlemen, I am pleased to welcome our first speaker, Profesor Dr. Agung Damar Syakti, DEA, Director of Universitas Maritim Raja Ali Haji Umrah Indonesia. He PhD in Analytical Chemistry from Université de Marseille in 2004. Professor Syakti currently serves as a Marine Pollution and Bioremediation Professor at the Faculty of Marine Science and Fisheries, Umrah. Professor Syakti will share his insights on the topic of government role in mitigating rising sea level, insight from higher education community. Without further ado, let's extend a warm virtual welcome to Professor Dr. Agung Damar Syakti, DEA.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee of the ASEAN Higher Education Conference 2023, which is organized by the Minister of Education, Culture, Research and Technology of the Republic of Indonesia and coordinated by the Council of the Rector Indonesia State University or MRPTNI, which is presided by the Professor Ganefri and also Professor Ojat Darojat as the rector of the Indonesia Open University. To begin with my presentation, as can be seen in this chart, you could see that the major global average temperature data from the several scientific organizations is remarkably show the similar pattern. The record show the rising trend of the global average of land and the ocean temperature as the result of the global warming, of course, driven by human-induced emission of the greenhouse gases. The global average of both the land and the ocean surface temperature show a warming of the 1.09 degrees Celsius from 1850 to 1900 and to 2011 to 2020 based on the multiple independency produced data set, of course. The trend is faster since the 1970 than in the other 50 years period over the last of the 200 years. Thus it is in easy way we could estimate that in the global temperature is risen up about 1.84 degrees Celsius in 2022. We are now facing such a risk, especially for the people who living in the coastal area and in the small island region and the countries. Why? Because the eventual long-term upward trend, there is also short-term variability, because the natural intensity variability, example Gracia, the El Nino short-term oscillation, increasing the tropical cyclone and sea level rise due to increase of the global temperature. And as you know, the long-term change in global mean sea level are primarily driven by the process ice melting, due to the warming atmosphere and the ocean, or we can say it's the ice sheet, and also the mountain glacier are melting too, and resulting in the addition of the fresh water into the ocean. When the ocean expands but the fresh water, the ocean will absorb the heat and causing the sea level to rise. After that, the consequence is the water is either removed from land through the groundwater pumping, for instance, or impoundment on land through dam building, can also cause a net change of total water found in the ocean. According to the report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change in 2021, that according to the report, they introduced a new high-end risk scenario stating that global rise is approaching to 0.6 to 1.1 meter of the global sea rise by 2100, or about 15 centimeter per year. And by 2300, seas can stand as much as 5 meters higher under the worst case scenario. If the country do cut off their emission significantly, according to the IPCC report, they expect that 0.3 to 0.6 meter of sea level rise by 2100. And the value of the RCP refer to the radioactive forcings in watt per meter square, and by the end of the century compared to the pre-industrial times, example Gracia 2.6 RCP 2.6 is 2.6 watt per meter square in case of RCP 2.6. And how about Indonesia? The study conducted by the team of the Research Center for Oceanography, Indonesian Institute of Science, of course, now they are belonging to the BRIN. Their data is derived from the NOAA. The trend of the sea level rise in Indonesia for 1982 to 2020 is estimated about 3.6 millimeter per year. So Indonesia is an high-risk project state, and it is very vulnerable to the climate impacts such as the sea level rise, and the impact has been already observed in the several coastal cities such as Jakarta, Semarang, and Demak, as well as in many archipelagic regions of province such as the Riau Island province, Bangka Belitung, etc. Despite there is uncertainty in determining the annual sea level rise, and it's making projection for the coming decade, but it's argued that the modest sea level rise has potential to have the severe consequence for the coastal community. Another problem is land subsidence rate in Jakarta, for instance, according to several studies, is about 5 to 10 centimeter. And in some locations it can reach the 20 centimeter per year. So excessive drainage of the groundwater extraction is also the main factor to contribute the land subsidence in Jakarta. Well, we agree that the climate change is one of the greatest threats of our time, and the most vulnerable population, as I mentioned before, coastal community and a small island are experiencing the impact of the climate change. How to better overcome? The people say that prevention is the best mitigation measure facing such a risk. So one of the fundamental action is emphasizing the education to mitigant to adapt the climate change. Of course, it's not limited to the higher education only. Education has a hugely important role to play in driving a transition of the sustainable future by increasing the quality and accessibility of education and developing people knowledge, attitude, and behavior towards the climate change. Education is a critical agent in addressing the issues not only for the sea level rise but also climate change in general. The United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change, for instance, signed the responsibility of the party of the convention country to undertake the education and the public awareness inside a campaign on climate change, and in order to ensure the public participation in the program and information access on the issue. Education can also encourage people to change their attitude and behavior. It also helps them to make informed decision in the classroom. For instance, young people can be taught about the impact of the global warming and learn about how to adapt to climate change. Education empower people, but especially motivate the young to take the action. And the study in behavior change of the student following the period of sustainability and environmental education have shown a positive effect toward the behavior beneficial for supporting the sustainable change. Program of learning focused on the conservation and environmental education have been shown to enhance the environmental attitude, value, and knowledge, as well as to build the skill and prepare the individual and community to collaborate to undertake the program. It can also create the learner more able to construct their vision for finding strategy to solve the climate problem and improve pro-environmental behavior. As you know, the campus has the unique role in supporting the educator to drive the transformative need required. Campus must regularly speak to the government official around the world, to understand their national vision for a more sustainable economy, let's say driving by the blue economy and workforce, and to explore how an education system might need to adapt to answer the next generation, to become to getting the skill required to achieve those goals. By supporting the education, we can build the effective climate learning into the national curricula and to increase the quality and accessibility education. Briefly, campus must play a key role on developing people, knowledge, attitude, and behavior toward the climate change. In campus, our students can learn, including, of course, biology, chemistry, physics, and also human influence on the ecosystem and air quality, and also climate change, of course. And the student can be facilitated in developing skills relevant to the driving a transition to a sustainable world, such as outdoor learning, critical thinking, collaborative and also communication, experimentation, etc., that can help them to be able to access a range of the support exploring sustainability in the classroom, from the habitat, destruction, pollution, biodiversity, and conservation until to biotechnology and genetic modification. And the community engagement and ownership is also important driver. Delivering our education mission must be done in a way to enhance and protect the natural world and society that live in. A very good example in Indonesia, we have, for instance, the UE Green Metric Initiative. The UE Green Metric World University Ranking Initiative is informed the Green Metric World University Ranking is a ranking on green campus and environmental sustainability initiated by University of Indonesia in 2010. They used almost less than 40 indicators in 6 criteria and so on. And University of Indonesia Green Metric World University Ranking prudently determined the ranking by university environmental commitment and initiative. And for instance, we are facing such a question. For 1 year, what our target to reduce our energy-related emission to the carbon zero? How we could do? We have reduced or reused electricity, gas, and fluid emission by some lesser extent percentage. This is the way we can do during our current activity. We need to also to redefining our forward design or system thinking education face this changing world. Yeah. To provide future generation with the knowledge and practical skill they need to protect our world around them. And we need to provide the curricula that empower the people to take responsibility for the present and for future generation, and actively contribute to societal transformation in whatever context they are in, yeah, and deliver in a way that's the reduce our impact to the natural world. As we set out our sustainability journey, we want to work with our skills community, teacher, researcher, and learner to continue to explore the solution for the free education that tackles the challenge of the today and tomorrow. We acknowledge that many actions already have taken by the green economy. For example, to reduce the greenhouse gas emission, particularly through energy conservation, and to protect our beaches, shoreline, dune river, and tidal system as the buffer against the storm and extreme weather event. And many of these actions have brought an other important non-climate benefit, and will continue to do saving energy bills, reducing air pollution, and sustaining tourism, fisheries, and other resource based on economic activity that important to our high quality of life. But I think the blue economy is the further version of the green economy, can be a new fresh way as the importer of our fresh way as an adaptation on the existing and potential climate change impact. For this, it must be systematically the innovation and social inclusiveness becoming the way of the proactive adaptation and mitigation. Last but not least, redefining our forward design system thinking education for the changing world, more especially on the climate change and with the issue of sea level rise. However, many people have continued to be frustrated that not nearly enough to being done in climate change adaptation for the scale of the challenge we face. Yeah. Climate scientists with the sense of urgency have been calling the policy action in climate change adaptation, especially since 1990, as it became clearer that impact of like sea level rise will unavoidable and could be significant in the coming decade. In Indonesia, and also in most Asian countries, sea level rise is a climate change issue that will significantly and persistently challenge local government, community, and residents for decades to come. With early planning and proactive adaptation, there is a good reason for optimism. Benefit can be achieved for the long-term social and economic development and for the present and the future generation. Well, I will end my word with my quote, which is we have to protect our tomorrow since yesterday, and we now have to correct our error today. Thank you very much for your attention. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Thank you, Professor Shakti, for the insightful presentation. Now I am pleased to invite our next speaker, Yang Berhormat Dato Seri Setia Awang Haji Muhammad Juanda bin Haji Abdul Rashid, Minister of Development of Brunei Darussalam. Today, Yang Berhormat Dato Seri Setia Awang Haji Muhammad Juanda bin Haji Abdul Rashid will be sharing his insights on the topic of government's role in addressing disaster hazards caused by rising sea level. So, without further ado, please join me in extending a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, Yang Berhormat Dato Seri Setia Awang Haji Muhammad Juanda bin Haji Abdul Rashid.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Ladies and gentlemen, distinguished guests, it is an honor to speak to you today on our government's effort in addressing rising sea levels and its implications to flood and coastal management. Climate change is a real challenge facing the globe. It requires actions that is a collective action of all, especially governments, to reduce carbon emission and to mitigate its impacts. Sea level rise is one of the impacts that needs to be tackled. In Brunei context, there are three categories of floods that can occur, which are, firstly, flooding at the river floodplain area. Those areas in blue in the map, this is one of the causes of rising sea level in the country. Tidal flood near the coast and Brunei Bay, the area in red in the map, this is also one of the causes of sea level rise. The third category is localized flood due to low topography profile not indicated in the map. These areas that are prone to flooding whenever there is heavy rainfall. With sea level rise, the obvious visual effect would be the inundations, which is floodings along the coast, beaches, river mouths, and low-lying areas. Now in Brunei, especially coupled with the heavy rainfall that we are receiving, we are getting flooding happening more frequent than expected. In this, the government had taken action by, firstly, prioritize policies and infrastructure that will help to manage flood risk and protect vulnerable access communities from the impacts of rising sea levels. This requires investment in both physical works and planning initiatives, such as coastal protection systems and drainage systems. One of the important aspects of this integrated mechanism is ensuring vulnerable populations have access to information, resources, and support to prepare for and respond to flood incidents before and after. Secondly, the government must put in place policies and regulations that limits development in areas that are prone to flooding and sea level rise. In Brunei experience, we have carried out a number of mitigations initiatives to address floods by various methods of bunding and pumping system in one of the main rivers in the country. This has prevented water from flowing inland from the riverbanks in ways that the surface water runoff were able to be directed to pumping stations via proper drainage to force the water out to prevent flow that would create flood in some areas. Our observation of the project completion in these areas have shown that we have been able to prevent flood recurrence in the area. The government will continue to invest and implement similar projects along with other means such as construction of detention ponds and canalization to reduce the flood risk in the flood-prone area in the country. As for sea level rise impacts on our coastline, we have experienced occurrence of erosion on its coastline facing the South China Sea. In this, Brunei government has implemented a number of coastal protection projects since the 1980s. To date, about 57 out of 130 kilometers of our coast are protected. Coastal protection is essential for the sustainability of Brunei coastal areas, which are home to a rich variety of marine life that provides important economic resources for the country. These areas are also important for tourism and recreation. Another method we have explored in the use of nature-based coastal management techniques such as the creation of natural buffer zones to protect against erosion, coastal inundation, and mangrove restoration. These approaches have not only provided protection against sea level rise, but also provided a range of environmental benefits, including supporting fisheries, climate change mitigation, and enhancing biodiversity, including the protection it provides to the coral reefs. With this experience and efforts that we have attempted, we believe it is imperative that our government develop a comprehensive and integrated approach to flood and coastal management that takes into account both the short and long-term effects of climate change in particular. To address sea level issues, particularly at low-lying areas, the government should need to implement major projects such as river barrages at main rivers and build more river embankment along major rivers and the coastlines. As part of our government's approach to reduce the impact of sea level rise, feasibility studies were conducted on constructing tidal barrier. This study has been completed in 2013, where study results show that tidal barriers is one of the ways to provide flood protection to affected areas in the Brunei River catchment. These barriers provides preventive purposes such as: first, flood prevention. By constructing barriers at vulnerable coastal areas, the government can effectively control the influx of seawater during high tides or storm surges. The barrier gates prevent seawater from entering inland further and causing flood. Second, saltwater intrusion prevention. Rising sea levels often led to saltwater intrusion into freshwater sources, posing a threat to agriculture and drinking water supplies. Barriers can help mitigate this issue by regulating the flow of seawater, minimizing its intrusion into rivers and groundwater reserves. Thirdly, it acts as a coastal protection barriers. Barriers can act as physical protection of coastal areas, erosion of waves and tides, thus stabilizing shorelines and mitigate erosions, safeguarding coastal infrastructure habitats and communities from the impacts of rising sea levels. What we are doing now is conducting an integrated approach to flood and coastal management that they are now being taken, taking into account both the short and long-term effects of climate change. Brunei government is currently reviewing its national drainage master plan. This is needed to take as precautionary measures in preparing for the ongoing drainage planning for the next decade, and most importantly, incorporating possible impact of global climate change challenges. In this effort, collaboration across sectors and level of governments and national agencies is essential. That is to develop cohesive flood management plans that incorporate sustainable building practices and the use of green infrastructure. On coastal impact, coastal management through soft and hard engineering have been our top priority in order to create long-term sustainability. Our effort now in Brunei government is to provide a master plan for coastal protection works, working hand in hand with developers, land owners and local officials to ensure that new land development and construction are designated in areas that are less vulnerable to rising sea levels problems. These requirement conditions and guidelines are put in place to adapt to any impacts that may arise in the future. In conclusion, sea level rise is a complex and multi-layered issue that requires a comprehensive response from governments around the world. It is a necessary action to prepare for the inevitable impacts of sea level rise to prevent possible environmental disaster from it. By prioritizing flood and coastal management, investing in physical works, and creating effective policies, we can protect our communities and our environment from the impacts of climate change for generations to come. Thank you.
Thank you. Yang berhormat Dato Seri Setia Awang Haji Muhammad Juanda bin Haji Abdul Rashid for the insightful presentation. Ladies and gentlemen, our next speaker is Professor Pongruk Sri Bandit Mongko, MD, PhD, President of Chiang Mai University. He received his PhD in pharmacology, toxicology from Ohio State University, USA in 1994. Professor Sri Bandit Mongko also holds the position of Chairman of the Council of University Presidents of Thailand, or CUPT. Professor Sri Bandit Mongko will share his insights on the topic of higher education perspective for addressing the rise of sea level, enhancing quality assurance. The session will be followed by a short Q&A session to address any questions you may have for the respective speaker. Professor Pongruk Sri Bandit Mongko, thank you for joining us today. The virtual floor is now yours.
Good afternoon, Chrissy and distinguished participants, ladies and gentlemen, and all who are listening to this proceeding. Do you hear me clearly? I hope so. Okay. First of all, I would like to, let me share my screen. Okay. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for inviting me to join this webinar today. It's very my honor to be one of the panelists in the specific and special issues. The question and the discussion of what perspective does higher education bring to the topic of rising sea level? The fact that the sea levels are rising is well documented. We know that sea level are rising as a consequence of global warming, which is causing polar ice caps and glaciers to melt at an unprecedented rate. We know that sea level rising as a consequence of increasing frequent and violent storm surges that erode and submerge coastal areas. This is yet another result of global warming. And we know that sea levels are rising as a consequence of various human activities that have resulted in land subsidences and the elimination of natural sea barriers. Human populations are also encountering rising water because people have moved onto floodplains that were thought to be safe for habitation because of poor urban planning based on outmoded weather and oceanographic models.
We would like to let you know that we haven't seen your shared screen. Would you mind to share it again?
Yeah, I share again, but it's not go. Okay, I share it.
Okay, let me check it again with the team here.
Do you see it?
Could the committee please confirm if we have received the professor's screen? Just a moment, please.
No? Anyhow, not okay. If you cannot see it, no problem.
Okay.
No?
So we could just proceed with the presentation. Okay, Professor, you may proceed with your presentation.
Okay, yeah. So how does the Thailand related to all of these issues? Thailand's coastal ocean exposure is about 3,000 kilometers on the Andaman Sea to the west and about 2,000 kilometers on the Gulf of Thailand on the east. Our capital city, Bangkok, you may know, home to about 10 million people, or about 1/6 of the country's population, is located on a low-lying river delta in close proximity to the ocean. Local waters near Bangkok are rising about 1.2 centimeters per year. That may not sound like a lot, but at the current rate, much of metropolitan Bangkok is projected to be underwater by the end of this century, unless there are major changes in urban planning, energy use, and infrastructure development. According to the World Bank Group, Thailand is one of the 10 countries in the world that will be most affected by floods, with economic flood-related losses presently estimated at about $2.6 billion a year, and that measurement does not include the toll of human suffering, as homes, communities, livelihood are damaged and washed away. I'm speaking to you today from Chiang Mai University, which is located in the city of Chiang Mai. Unlike Bangkok, Chiang Mai is not located near an ocean. We are at least 1,000 kilometers away from the nearest beaches. In fact, Chiang Mai city is in a mountainous region in the north of Thailand, and Chiang Mai University is stand about 300 meters above sea level. Yet, we in Chiang Mai not immune to the flood-related consequences of climate changes. The same global warming that is threatening to submerge tourist beaches in South Thailand, and that is beginning of the ocean, bringing the ocean to the outskirts of Bangkok, is also increasing the frequency and violence of our region's tropical storms, so that seasonal flooding and flash flooding is a significant danger to our homes, economy, and general infrastructures. And of course, global warming and increasing temperature levels are a serious danger to human and animal health, as well as to agriculture, which is the most important business in North Thailand. With increasing heat, there also comes another dangers, not of too much water and flooding, but also too little water and drought. But to return to the consequence of rising sea level, so far I have only touched on direct consequences of first-order effects, but there will also be numerous indirect or secondary order effects. To give only one obvious example, as rising water claim coastal areas, people and their families will migrate to higher and drier lands like Chiang Mai. And this movement of climate refugees will have profound consequences for every aspect of regional life, from health services to infrastructure capabilities to employment opportunities. Indeed, there will be no part of Thailand that will be immune from global warming and the problem of rising sea level. Next, what is the role of university in response to rising sea levels and global warming? I'm not sure that higher education especially has a unique perspective on the consequences of global warming. But I do believe that universities, in fact, our educational institutions have a unique responsibilities. We must not only teach our students about the reality of climate changes, we must also serve as the role models for our societies in combating climate changes and in mitigating its adverse effects. There is no single plan for our university, but I can tell you about some of things that we do in Chiang Mai. First of all, Chiang Mai University is devoted to research and development in the area of renewable and sustainable alternative energies. This year, for example, our university entered into a partnership with Thai and German government agencies and industry to become Southeast Asia's first green hydrogen learning center to promote the modular development of these clean and sustainable energy sources. The new Green Hydrogen Center builds on our university many years of experience with biomass and biogas technologies, not just in a theoretical sense, but in the term of fully operation projects. In 2017, Chiang Mai University opened a waste management plant that converts the university daily garbage into a variety of valuable products, such as methane gas that helps power a fleet of free electrical shuttle buses that transport students over university ground, as well as paving and building materials that have been used to expand the university network of walking paths and bicycle lanes, as well as fertilizer that is resold to help defray the plant's cost of operation, and is also used to nurture the university tree planting program. Our development programs based on the plant's operation also turn biomass into medical-grade bioplastic for surgical sutures, as well as industrial-grade plastic for general package purposes. At present, this waste management plant processes more than 15 tons of university garbage per day. At the same time, Chiang Mai University has water management system that is turning most of our university wastewater into fresh, reusable water. And Chiang Mai University is a leader in its application of solar energy panels, employing more of these climate-friendly devices than any other institutions in its size. Sorry. We generate more than 40% of our energy use from the sun. I could elaborate still further on our university climate-friendly green initiative. I could explain that these initiatives were part of 5-year campus-wide audit of energy use and conservation. I could how our university uses patterns are tracked by a central smart campus management system that monitors and controls in real time of our energy-related data to make the most effective use of campus resources, rerouting surplus energy from one facility to another, from an underutilized classroom, for example, to an emergency operating theater at the university hospital. But such an elaboration might obscure the fact that we have still a lot of work to do to achieve our goals of becoming carbon neutrality by 2032. It might also draw attention away from our primary goal as an educational institutions, and that goal is to educate our students. Each of these initiatives is not simply a tool for combating climate changes or a potential profit center to fund more research and development. Each initiative is itself an educational activity, a training exercise, students a lifelong consciousness that their daily activities are part of their society responses to the very great threat that climate changes pose to their life and the life of their families. He has approximately 30,000 students. Hopefully, we are sending 30,000 agents of changes into the greater world for the better world. Thank you very much for your attention. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Professor Sri Bandit Mongkol, for the insightful presentation. We have already selected one question from the submitted list. Question to Professor Pangruk. How to build and maintain collaboration so that policies and strategies for addressing sea level rise can be implemented in a sustainable manner? Professor Pangruk, back to you.
Thank you for the good questions. I think our project is, as I say, is 5-year long-term plans. So we put everything in our university goals and our university planning. So every faculties, every people, every member have to think about have to conscious about this global warming. Have to think that we do everything today for the next 10 or 20 years in the future. So I think we are not do it for ourselves for today, for tomorrow only. So we have to encourage our people, our students, to think about the future. So that's come out to, we can integrate many policy together to fight, to overcome this climate, global warming.
Thank you, Professor Sri Bandit Mongkol, for your answer. We appreciate everyone's participation, and again, thank you, Professor Pangruk Sri Bandit Mongkol, for sharing your valuable insights with us today.
Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are privileged to have such a distinguished speaker with us. And I am pleased to give a warm welcome to our next speaker, Dr. Mi Ken, Rector of University of Computer Studies, Yangon, Myanmar. She earned her PhD in Information Technology from the University of Computer Studies, Yangon. During today's webinar, Dr. Mi Ken will share her experiences on the topic of sustainable approaches for managing natural disaster-based GIS in supporting mobility. Dr. Mi Ken, thank you for joining us today. Now the floor is yours.
Thank you. Hello, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Today I would like to introduce myself. First, I am Mi Ken, Rector, University of Computer Studies, Yangon. Today I would like to talk about the sustainable approach for managing natural disaster based on GIS in supporting mobility. So Myanmar weather has 3 seasons. It's a rainy season, summer season, winter season. We are suffer from the monsoon area. So that's why Myanmar has many disasters such as flood, cyclone, earthquake, landslides, and drought. Natural disaster can destroy the environmental and loss of the human life in very short of time. To minimize these losses, there is a need for the managing and preventing the natural disaster urgently. This is in my presentation, we have this outline. Firstly, I would like to explain disaster in Myanmar. Then I would like to continue to talk about the causes of the disaster. And then I will explain about the environmental damage by disaster. And then I will discuss about the process of the disaster management system that provides the information of deforestation rate in our country. Then I would like to continue about the system provide for deforestation rate between the time interval. Finally, I would like to conclude in my presentation. I would like to continue to talk about the disasters in Myanmar. The two mountain previous in Myanmar is namely Western Range in mountain region and Eastern Highland Tanindai Range. In inherently unstable natures of areas of our country. These mountain areas is becoming one of the most hazard-prone area in Myanmar because of a slip stops. The miserable geologic condition, the heavy monsoon rain, Myanmar due to its geological setting is exposed to multiple hazards results in people loses their lives and property. So deforestation is one of the main reasons for the causing natural disaster. Forests, they are being destroyed by human activity. In general, human activity is a driving force behind the deforestation. Several industries clear the forest land and making their purpose of the including agriculture, paper, mining, and logging. Trees maintains nutrient-rich troposphere by protecting it from wind, rain, and their harsh matter. Therefore, the removal of the tree through the deforestation drives desertification. Deforestation is the environmental causes and following problem and harms the people living here: soil erosion, climate change, natural disaster like flooding. So I would like to explain in my last slide area in Tanindai region. During August 2019, heavy monsoon rain struck in the human landslide in most states. These landslides occur due to daily rainfall about over the 200 millimeter and the soil moisturizer data over the 24 millimeter. Then the series of landslides occur along the Melalui mountains and cause severe damage in Yedaway highway. Moreover, several houses, religious buildings, and roads are destroyed in this region. Last time I also share my PowerPoint slide in there. So these slides I would like to show about the monsoon heavy rain causes in landslides in Melalui Mountain. This route connected in most states and the Tanindai region. Because of push landslides, its route collapses and some parts of the Melalui Mountain area. However, water erosion occurs in highway and also flooding causes in Ye and Dawei at the Tanindai region and urban area of Yangon. In flooding area in Myanmar, in slide number 12, I would like to discuss about the Myanmar case. In these slides, we show the our flooding area in Myanmar. Myanmar is one of the most vulnerable countries in risk of the climate. In Myanmar, heavy rain in the urban area are near the river not only causes flood but also damage crops. The next in my presentation show the losses of the flooding region of the Hindra township near the Ari River. In the rainy season, the Ari River is a flooding area is more widely in that region. So that's why is a Hindra area is a more flooding region in Myanmar. Changes in rainfall pattern causes flood in it is affect not only to the production of the agricultural sector but also human life of the people. Among the natural disaster, forest fire are also the season for the deforestation. Forest fire hotspots are most frequent occur all over the country. They are namely founded in states of the Kaya, Shan, Bago, Nepido, Magui, Mandalay, Chin, and Kayin. This is a half of our area, state of the area. So that's why it's a forest fire hotspots are most common the summer season in Myanmar and also the winter season. These are mainly caused by natural hazards and human-made behaviors, especially burning, garbage, discarded cigarette. So, in my figure, is a show the forest fire banded in Nepido last February 2023. So, climate change is one of the major threats cause of the forest fire hotspots in Myanmar. The environment causes air pollution by forest fire hotspot. Therefore, whether due to natural disaster or man-made for this event, this is necessary to have a forest fire hotspot monitoring and warning system that helps reduce air pollution. And natural disasters are protected by natural tree, so strong wind have less impact on the ground. As a result of the grandeur disease, decrease the quality of the forest and the amount of the tree that should there not only the climate change but also the strong wind directly affect in ground, leading to the flipping the roof of the houses and collapse. So in my presentation picture show the damage caused by Typhoon Mocha on May 14, 2023 in Sittwe in Jakhai State. As a result of the gradual decrease the quality of the forest and the amount of the tree that should be there, not only the climate change but also the strong wind directly affect to the ground, leading to the flipping the roof and houses collapse. As already mentioned, natural disasters have been damaged human life and destruction environment. To minimize these losses, there is a need to managing the natural disaster due to the urgently for the climate change. It is very important for estimate the rate of the deforestation. In order to reduce the climate change, it is necessary to know the state of deforestation. The proposed system uses a popular deep learning algorithm used the convolutional neural network technique to determine the deforestation of forest degradation. This system is in our GIS lab. They already use for the research area in UCSY. This system performed the semantic segmentation on the satellite image to determine the percentage of the forest area, the rate of the change of the deforestation between time interval. Conversing the environment by assessing deforestation is will help to allow to reduce the climate change to the environmental in Myanmar. Our proposed systems provide the information of deforestation condition in our country. I continue to talk about the deforestation rate between the time interval. For the period 2020 to 2020, according to the Global Forest Resource Assessment Report, Myanmar deforestation percentage and average neutral disease are shown in this slide. So in our deforestation rate is near the 2% in minus 2% in here. It is possible to know the rate of the deforestation in percentage per yearly for the Myanmar forest. Deforestation is annual information can be used to make a deforestation or reforestation. By being able to prevent the deforestation in time, it is possible to gain the benefits of managing a negative effect of the natural disaster. So in our GIS lab in our university, some of the researchers, they already try to calculate about the deforestation and how to redevelop for this plan in our research area. So thank you very much for your attention. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mi Mekin, for your insightful presentation. Now let us dive into the selected question that we have received. Question to Dr. Mi Mekin. How to increase the role of GIS so that it can make more precise predictions so that it will have a better impact on policy making?
Yes. I'm GIS photo from the maybe satellite photo we already use in our research, and then how to which area is maybe we need to deforestation, and then which area is we need to redevelop for the green environment. So this time is we calculate the area and then calculate the percentage of the losses area in there, and then we already our university connected with the environmental ministry, and then they already replant in that area. So that's why we already calculate the loss percentage and then how to redevelop in that area. We calculate and estimate in there. We use the satellite image. After that, we already pass to this data to the environmental ministry. They already regrow the plant in that area. So in my ambition is like this. So thank you very much for your valuable question.
Thank you, Dr. Mi Mekin, for sharing your valuable insights with us today. Now I am pleased to invite our last speaker, Dr. Bandung Sahari, the Executive Vice President of Sustainability at PT Astra Agro Lestari Tbk Indonesia. He received his PhD degree from IPB University in 2012. Additionally, Dr. Sahari serves as a technical committee member for formulating Indonesian national standards on biodiversity at the Badan Standarisasi Nasional. Today, Dr. Bandung Sahari will be sharing his insights on the topic of private sector roles in supporting government in tackling hazards caused by natural disaster. Without further ado, please join me in extending a warm welcome to our distinguished speaker, Dr. Bandung Sahari. Dr. Bandung Sahari, over to you.
Thank you, Ibu Krisi Francisca. So, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, distinguished speakers and participants. Thank you for the committee for inviting me to speak at this prestigious event. It is my honor and pleasure to do presentations on the private sector's role in supporting the government in tackling hazards caused by natural disaster. So, Ibu Krisi Francisca, is it me who have to share a screen or from the organizing? Okay, thank you. So, actually, I'm not only in the Astra Agro Lestari, but I'm also active in Indonesian Palm Oil Association, and also I'm a fellow for the Center for Transdisciplinary and Sustainability Science at IPB University. So next slide, please. Thank you. I would like to highlight the latest trend of global and national climate resilience. Okay, next slide, please. Thank you. So, in this slide, I would like to highlight the strong effects of climate change on species loss, human health, and food production. As you can see in this slide, that increasing the Earth temperature is followed by the declining of corn production. It is also happening to the fisheries in Indonesia. Okay, next slide, please. So in Indonesia, the climate change effect can be seen from the El Nino and La Nina, and then this will have an effect on the wildfires, droughts, and floods. As you can see in this slide, that the El Nino history in Indonesia starting to in 1968, and last one was happened in 2019, and I hope not happening again in 2023. But many experts expect this year is El Nino will be started from this year. So then, learning from the past that this El Nino has caused wildfires and long drought and flood from the El Nino, from the La Nina. So if we categorize the disaster from the acute and also chronic, and this also triggers the changes of the policy and also developing the technology, and also this will have an effect also on the reputation and also market. So then, but at the same time, we also see the opportunity for the resource efficiency, and we hope that through learning from the past, what happened in the past, so then we can be more productive and also be more efficient in water and also energy efficiency. So in the mitigations and the adaptation, so then we also hope that we can conduct and develop the generate the energy source that can lower the operating costs and increase the resilience through the renewable energy. So then we also hope from the markets that we can initiate more collaborations and more initiative for the climate adaptation. And we hope that from that all the activities and learning from the risk and anticipating the risk and how to mitigate the risk, we can develop the framework to develop adaptation practices to tackle the climate change. Next slide, please. So this is the confirmations of, just want to confirm that today there is an increase of the earth temperatures, and this was also recorded that that already increased in one increase of the temperature reached about 1 degree Celsius in the 19th century, and we hope not, yeah, but people experts expect that there is an increase that there is an increase of 1.5 degrees Celsius around 2040. So then this multiple climate hazards with major compounding impact occurring regularly such as floods, wildfires, and drought. These hazards along the variability on climatic condition have also jeopardized agricultural production in Indonesia. Okay, next slide, please. And now we come to the Indonesian palm oil industry highlights. Okay, so Indonesia palm oil has a very important role in Indonesia, especially for the economic development, for the rural community, and also for the national development in Indonesia. As you can see from this slide, that there is an increase of the production of palm oil from year to year, and then palm oil has also a very significant role in trade balance in Indonesia. And in terms of the land size, 40% of plantations in Indonesia are owned by the smallholders, in together with the private sectors covering around 60% of plantation in Indonesia. But at the same time, as we are aware that this plantation also facing a very tremendous impact of the climate change, especially for the land fires. So in the next slide, we can see that this is the distributions of oil palm plantation in Indonesia, starting from the Aceh and also Sumatra, including Java, and Sulawesi, and Papua. But oil palm plantations mostly can be found in Kalimantan and also Sumatra. And what about the palm oil strategy in tackling the hazards of natural disaster? So, can we go to the 11 slide, next slide, and next slide, please? Okay. So then, from the scenario, we developed the scenario analysis and adaptation mitigation practices strategy. So then we go through the three steps. The first is learning from the historical exposures about the climate change in the past and the disaster that has happened in the past. And then we go to the deep dive scenario analysis. And this is very important to describe the future summaries exposures about the future change in exposure to physical climate hazards. And through this steps and scenario analysis, that we can identify that there are several actions that we need to develop. The first is the peatland management and also the fire prevention. And as we are aware that peat is closely related to the land fire in Indonesia. In fact, 2050 and 2019, the land fire in Indonesia was very, very massive. So then, where it is important to develop the appropriate mitigation for the upcoming drop, and then we need to prevent the possible land fires that may happen in the future. So and at the same time, we need to have an initiative, significant initiative for the water management system. Along with these three main activities, then we also develop the carbonizations, methane captures, and biogas utilization, and also nature-based solution program. And we also conduct conservation management, mangrove, and riparian restoration. So then we can go to the next slide about the peatland management. So as you can see here that for the peatland management, something that's really important to consider is that precipitations and also the water behavior, peat maturity, and etc. From the previous research, it can be seen that there is an increase of CO2 emissions with lowering water level. So can we go to the next slide? So then if we can see here that there is also an increase here with based on different research publications, there is an increase of the CO2 flux fluctuations in the deeper water level from 10, 30, and 50 centimeter depth. And in the next slide, we also see the difference, another evidence regarding the the relationship between the precipitations, groundwater level, and SCO2 flux. With lower precipitations can be followed with a lowering groundwater level, and this will have an impact on the increasing CO2 flux. And if we go for the next slide, that we are going to talk about the fire prevention. So I think it is important here for the fire prevention in Indonesia that we need to develop the early warning system technology. So then we download and monitor the hotspots, and then we use this drones for monitoring the fire spot on the ground. We need to consider that there is a difference between the hotspot and fire spot. Fire spot is the manifestations of hotspot. So then, by monitoring hotspot, then we can fly the drone to monitor whether there is a fire spot on the ground. So, and we also can developing an initiative for the SMS broadcasting for the local community, and this is very important to provide them with the information about the weather and then possible fire spots based on the monitored hotspot. And in the next slides, when we are talking about the fire prevention system in all palm plantations, then it is very important to conduct the training, increasing the capacity of our team on the ground in together with surrounding community. And then if we go to the next slide, so then we can see that how important the local community in together with the companies to conduct the fire prevention on the ground. So then we initiate the empowering program for the local community in fire prevention, and we also initiate the community partnership through training, through the local economic development, and then we also develop what we call in Indonesia is masyarakat peduli api, in other area we call it desa sejahtera bebas api, and kelompok tani peduli. So this is the different name, but the essence is the same, is how we can work together with the community surrounding the companies to prevent the possible land fire. Okay, the next slide is how we operate the current technology, and then we can control, we can monitor the possible fires from Jakarta or from the head office, even though that land fire happening in the remote area. So, if we go for the next slide, so we are going to talk about the water management. So, next slide, please. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide. Yes. And then this is the importance of water management. So main concept of water management is we need to develop the zonations, canal system for drainage, for the, water infrastructure systems, and monitoring water level systems. So we need to have the hydrotopography map in order to develop the appropriate water management system for preventing the possible land fire. So if we go to the next slide, so then we can see the how water management system can happen on the ground with the current technology. So this by preventing water going out from the areas, so then we hope that we expect that we can have enough water for the fire prevention. And then for the peatland management, this water management system. So then, can we go to the next slide, please? Yes, thank you. So then, I already mentioned before that peatlands is prone for the land fire. So then, about 1 million, around 1.5 million hectares plantation seedings on peatland in Indonesia. Even though that in total we have 60 million, around 60 million plantations in Indonesia. And for the oil palm plantation seedings on peatlands, and then this is very important for the weather management to be developed. And we need to consider the key factors analysis, including the precipitation, speed, moisture, elevations, water behavior, peat maturity, hydraulic conductivity. So then, by understanding that factors, and then we can develop appropriate water management systems for both productivity and possible environment disaster, preventing the possible environment disaster. Okay, so the next slide, can we go to the next slide? Yes. And this is another environment programs for mitigation. So then we conduct the river rehabilitations. This is not only to maintain the riparian ecosystems, but this is also to increase the carbon absorption in the landscape. Okay, now we come to the next, the final slide. Okay, thank you for the conclusions. The first is with further warming, climate change risks will become increasingly complex and more difficult to manage. Climate-driven food insecurity and supply instability, for example, are projected to increase with increasing global warming. In palm oil industry, it needs holistic and integrated approaches. It was identified 3 major concerns in association with the climate adaptation or risk. The first is peatland management. The second is peat fire prevention, and the last one is water management. And the third conclusion is in peatland management, the critical issue is to keep maintain the water level of the peatland area to keep the peatland moist. Every drum down 10 centimeter of water level will cause 9.1 tons CO2 equivalent per hectare per year. And for conclusion in fire prevention, utilization of digital technology for early warning system will be combined with the community engagements. In water management, the zonation was based on elevation and hydrotopography. The key factors need to be observed is precipitation, peat moisture, elevation, water behavior, peat maturity, and hydraulic conductivity. Okay, that's all my presentation. Thank you very much for the opportunity given to me. So, thank you. We go back to Ibu Prisi.
Thank you, Dr. Bandung Sahari. Now let us dive into the selected question that we have received. Question to Dr. Bandung Sahari. Peatland is an enormous carbon sink, and conserving peatland is very important to reduce global warming, especially through water level maintenance and fire prevention. So the next 2 questions would be, first, what are the challenges faced so far in restoring peatlands to reduce global warming? And second, how to build, improve, and maintain community engagement in this program? Dr. Bandung Sahari, over to you.
Okay, thank you very much for the question. So for the first is peatland restorations and conservations is that the first step, according to the Ministry of Environment and Environment and Forestry, Environment and Forestry, is that we need to rewiring the peatland ecosystem. So then, but regarding the water, we need to understand the way the water behavior and how the water flow because of the area located in different altitudes. So then this is the very challenging for us, a challenging sector for us, how to keep the water in the peatland ecosystem because of the water going following to the to down to the river, but the higher levels of the plantations, the more difficult to keep the water. The lower locations of the plantation, the easier to keep the water in. So this is one of the challenges for the peatland restorations and also rehabilitations. Okay, so for the community engagement, so this is very important to understand the community need and also the landscape where the community and companies live together. So by understanding the community needs and also their aspirations, so that we can sit down together with them and to understand that we are facing the similar disaster in the same landscape. So then play together with him through the participatory discussions, and then we can develop together with the community to identify key steps in preventing possible fires on the ground. Okay, so I think that's my answer. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Bandung Sahari, for your answer. And we appreciate everyone's participation. And again, thank you, Dr. Bandung Sahari, for sharing your valuable insights with us today. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. And if we couldn't address your question, we do apologize and encourage you to reach out to the expert. Ladies and gentlemen, as we come to the end of our session, we would like to extend our sincerest appreciation to our distinguished speakers for sharing their expertise and experiences. Profesor Dr. Agung Damar Syakti, DEA, Yang berhormat Dato Seri Setia Awang Haji Muhammad Juanda bin Haji Abdul Rashid, Profesor Pongruk Sri Bandit Mongkol MD PhD, Dr. Mimiken, and Dr. Bandung Sahari. Your valuable insights have truly enriched our understanding of the topic. Thank you for taking the time to be a part of this webinar. We would also like to express our gratitude to all the attendees. Your active participation through questions has made this webinar an engaging experience. We really appreciate your enthusiasm and we look forward to connecting with you all in the future. And now, I will hand over the stage to our wonderful MC to wrap up today's webinar. Now, over to you, Agatha.
Thank you to all distinguished speakers, and a special thank you to Ms. Chrissy for moderating our discussion today. Ladies and gentlemen, it is time for an exciting moment as we announce the lucky winner of our door prizes. Congratulations to winner number 1, Ms. Rini, and winner number 2, Ms. Hewindanti, and winner number 3, Mr. Sodikin. The organizing committee will be in touch with you shortly to provide all the necessary details regarding the delivery of your prizes. And now let us take a moment to acknowledge the hard work and dedication of our organizing team. And a big thank you to everyone involved behind the scene. We also have an important reminder for you. To receive your certificate of attendance, we kindly request you to take a moment to provide us with your valuable feedback by filling out the form linked below. Please remember that the e-certificate will be sent to both registered participant and attend the webinar. The certificates will be sent within 3 working days after the webinar's conclusion. And now, before we conclude, we would like to share some exciting news with you. Mark your calendars for the 8th ASEAN Higher Education Conference 2023, scheduled to take place on Wednesday, 26th of July 2023. The webinar will delve into the crucial topic of higher education and industry connectivity in the ASEAN maritime sector and will be hosted by Universitas Hasanuddin. And get ready, from June until August, we are proud to present a diverse range of events as part of the ASEAN Higher Education Conference 2023 that you won't want to miss. Thank you all once again for joining the 7th ASEAN Higher Education Conference 2023. We hope this webinar has provided valuable insights and inspired new ideas on climate change mitigation. Have a wonderful day.